In this video, we're headed to the Buford Auto Summit in Buford, Georgia for a charity car show where more than 600 cars showed up, including some really cool stuff we're going to take a look at right now. One of the first things that got my attention was this 67 Chevelle station wagon drag car. This thing's got a big block Chevy in it with aluminum heads. Definitely a serious combination going on here, and you can tell this thing has been a drag car for a long time. It's got some neat graphics on it, some cool stickers and things like that that kind of give you this idea that this thing has been a drag car for most of its life. The name Marta Bus on the side of it, that's kind of an Atlanta thing. That's the public transportation system, and this thing is obviously a big old station wagon for a drag car, so I guess that's where the name came from. But this thing's still got a lot of life left in it. It's an old drag car, but it's still functional, still a neat looking car. Brian Fuller, who you may know from TV, he's built several cars and motorcycles in the past few years, and he's based out of Atlanta, and he came with his full setup here. He had a customized BMW motorcycle right there, very killer setup. And then of course he's got an absolutely beautiful Studebaker pickup truck. Elegant lines front to back, white wall tires of course, lots of custom details on the inside and on the outside, and it's even got a supercharged emblem on it. So a lot of cool details on this one, even though it looks like it just rolled right off the showroom floor. Unlike this Ford pickup truck, which is cut up, it's sitting right on the ground, it's got really cool tire and wheel combination and some great patina front to back. Here's another drag car that was on display. This is a pretty wild one here, a Studebaker with a crazy flip forward front end. It's got a big wing on the back, wheelie bar. I mean, it's got all the crazy stuff that gets your attention. Big old tires on the back, lots of horsepower from a big block Chevy, and a lot of wow factor that got everybody's attention. When it comes to my favorite street car that was at the Buford Auto Summit, this is it. This 67 Ford Fairlane XL is just a super cool 60s style build, and this thing's got some killer parts underneath the hood. It's got an aluminum block. So this Ford FE big block, normally these things are awesome to begin with, but this thing's got an aluminum block, aluminum cylinder heads, 2 4s. It's got some serious race components inside and out, and it's stroked to be a 482 cubic inch combination. This thing's got a 4-speed transmission, 411 gear out back, and he narrowed the rear end to 46 inches wide, moved the leaf springs inward so that he could put some big old tires under the back of it. It's got American Racing 5-spoke wheels, a great stance, Kreitz fiberglass hood. I mean, it's got all the elements for a great 60s style street and strip build. And when you look on the inside, the bucket seats are kind of a modern design, but they really flow with the rest of the interior. It's got a couple little vintage pieces thrown in here and there, but overall this thing's got a great look. Dennis Roberts did a great job putting this car together. Here's a wild one. This 69 Camaro has a crazy combination. You can see the engine is just completely blacked out. Big block Chevy, big blower, big carburetors, big scoop, but it's all black. And the bright red paint job, the tinted windows, I mean, this thing's got a sinister look, and it sounded pretty good too. So this is a tricky one. This is a 57 Ford 2-door sedan, and it's got some oversized steel wheels and dog dish caps, a good stance, and then under the hood, this is where the trickery comes in. It looks like an FE in here. It's got Thunderbird valve covers, a cowl inducted air cleaner, but that's actually an LS engine under the hood of this thing with some pretty clever disguising. But here's a real Ford. This is a 63 Ford 2-door sedan, completely stripped down, no trim whatsoever. It's got body color steel wheels and dog dish caps, but under the hood there's a 390 with some Holman and Moody tags on it. That's a good sign for some big time performance, and this thing has got a great overall look. Just a stripped down plain Jane sedan with a big engine. Here's another stripped down sedan, this time a 56 Chevy, and under the hood you've got a NASCAR style small block engine. This thing makes big horsepower, it makes big noises, and it's a super slick car with show car qualities that's ready to tear up the street. Sitting next to it is a 55 Chevy with a killer hot rod stance This thing's got ET wheels. It's got the perfect size tire and wheel combination. Two-door post, of course, which makes for a great hot rod, and just a cool paint combination too. That tuxedo combination never gets old. And if we look under the hood of this one, again, we got a special engine combination. This thing's got Buick cylinder heads like off of a Pro stock from back in the day. It's got a sheet metal intake and a really crazy dual plenum air cleaner setup. This thing is a wild one and definitely show car slick. I really like this little Chevy Vega. This thing has got a lot of good details. It's got some custom pieces like that air dam, the hood, and then under the hood is an LS 454, which has got to be absolutely crazy in this little short wheelbase lightweight Vega platform. And you can see it doesn't have a lot of engine setback. This thing is probably a handful out on the road, but it's got to be a lot of fun. It's got a great set of tires and wheels on it, cool spoiler on the back, straight body, slick paint job. This thing is awesome. This show had a section called Sweet 16, which was some really great hand-picked cars that were just over the top with details. And this car is built by Johnson's Hot Rod Shop. It's got a big block Chevy in it. It's got fuel injection, tons of show car details. Look at the paint on this car. The interior's cool, and of course these Studebakers just have great body lines to begin with, and they look even better when they got a killer stance and cool tires and wheels like this one. Now I love pro street stuff, and this 41 Willis is just a great example because this car sits so nice. It's right down on the ground. It doesn't have a lot of crazy details as far as like stuff sticking out of the hood. It's just a very tastefully done car. Bright red paint, Halabrand wheels on it, little ones on the front, big old wide ones on the back. That's just how they're supposed to be with a Pro Street Willis. Last but certainly not least is one of the greatest drag car restorations I've ever seen. This is the Dixie Twister Camaro funny car that was campaigned by Huston Platt in the early 1970s. Now Huston Platt's name comes up pretty often in the world of drag racing because he was part of the most tragic accident in drag racing history, but he did continue to drag race after that accident, and he raced in this car. This is a second generation Camaro. You can see the paintwork on this car is flawless, lots of great lettering and striping, and the decal placement, everything about this car is proper and authentic to the way it was in the early 70s, and it probably is even slicker than it was back then because this thing, I mean, you can look at it all day and not find a flaw. And the magnesium wheels have a gold coating on them that is just perfect. The blown and nitro injected big block Chevy is just completely simple and clean and detailed perfectly. This thing is just a piece of art, but it's also functional because they cranked it up while everybody was gathered around and had a pretty heavy load of nitromethane in the tank. It definitely got everybody's attention when this thing was running. And when it was all said and done, he loaded it back up on the ramp truck and hit the road. It made for a really cool combination. When you see this ramp truck with a funny car on the back, I mean, that is going to turn your head no matter if you're a little kid or an old man or anywhere in between. This thing has got the ultimate wow factor.